What up, Flyers fans? Welcome to another great show of the Orange and Black Podcast. It's your host, Jamey Basco. Aloha mahalo to all those that are digging out. You feel like you're in paradise right now in Hawaii, right? No, with your lay on and everything. Nah, that ain't happening, right? But there are a lot of Flyers news to get back. Haven't been on in about 2 or 3 weeks. Been pretty busy with family and whatnot. Sorry about that. It's counteracting. But we look to get back on course here every Friday or Saturday. With another good episode for you all, because you all deserve it. You're the best fans in hockey, and I tell you, your patience and diligence is showing that for sure. So I think the last time we talked, the Flyers were on a roll. Not so much anymore, right? Now they've been flushed down the toilet a bit, come back to reality, I'd say. They are 7-10-2 since Rick Tocchet said that to the media. Why are you guys always talking about Michkov? We're 17-10. So since that comment, they are 7-10-2. They're not playing good hockey at all. They just don't look like a cohesive hockey team at the time. There's players over here. There's multiple breakdowns. We could blame the schedule, whatever. Every single team throughout the NHL is faced with the same predicaments. Lack of practice time, lack of special team time, to practice that, lack of everything, everyone being tired. That's due to the Olympic break that's right around the corner. The Flyers' last game is Thursday night before the Olympics. The opening of the Olympics, for that matter, the opening ceremony is Friday. So with that being said, there is no hockey for 2 weeks. Cool, right? The Flyers need a break. Not so much, right? Because historically, if you look, the Flyers are terrible following a long layoff. They just are. It's not their niche. They don't do it very well. And that was one of the main reasons why I did not have the Flyers making the playoffs this year anyway. I had them as a playoff bubble team because the Flyers struggle after a layoff, a long layoff of a week, 2 weeks. It could be 4 days, 5 days. They just don't play well. So I did not have them making the playoffs because I could see 2 or 3 games post-Olympic break, them struggling. And excuses will then, more excuses will be added. Not so much, guys. This is just who the team is. They've had goaltending problems. Sam Erson's hurt. Alexei Kolosov has now been recalled. Sam Erson just cannot stay healthy. Every time he gets on a roll, he gets hurt. Every time he starts to start and play well, he gets hurt. This is just his niche. He's been hurt now 2 or 3 times this season alone. He continues to get hurt. It's not that he's not a good goaltender. He's just not a good backup goaltender. When he starts, he's good. Unfortunately, he just can't stay healthy. Dan Vladar has kicked butt this year, but has starting to come back down to reality himself. He was carrying a load earlier in the season through the first half of the season. You know why the Flyers had success? In large part, Zegras, Vladar, in a favorable schedule. They weren't playing difficult teams here and there. They were. But you know where they were playing? They were playing at Xfinity Mobile Arena. They did not endure a lot of travel from October to December. They just didn't. I mean, it felt like they were playing a home game after home game after home game. So they had their longest homestand in years. It was like an 8 or 9 game homestand. Now they're starting to travel more. So what happens with traveling? Lack of practice time, a condensed schedule. They're playing back-to-backs. It's so the NHL can make their money. That's what this is all about. Is because the owners were worried. They did not want to lose their money, so they will not. With that being said, Lane Peterson has been sent back to Lehigh for Alexei Kolosov so they could recall him. That was to be expected. What was not to be expected was Sean Couturier playing at the 4C role. Sean Couturier will play 4C today. And that was made evident with Lane Peterson being sent back to Lehigh. So what happens from here on out? I have no idea. But Couturier just isn't playing well. He hasn't scored a goal in 26, 27 games now. And it's not about goals. It's not about assists. He just doesn't have that oomph that he once had. Not in his prime. I'm saying oomph from earlier in the year. He had jumped to his skates earlier. Condensed schedule, call it whatever you want. He just is not playing very well. So he deserved that 4th line role. What wasn't deserving is Matvei Michkov playing on a 3rd line. He's playing it. I interviewed Curtis Gabriel about 3 or 4 years ago. Great guy, right? He used to play for the Flyers, Phantoms, and stuff. He was one of those that bounced around. throughout the league. Curtis Gabriel told me there was one key thing that he said. The NHL, the way they construct their lines is rolled. You're on the top six, you're supposed to score. That's just what you're supposed to do. Top six, you're scoring. Third line, checking roll. Fourth line, grinding roll. He said that each line has a role. The NHL are role players. They're littered with role players. So with that being said, Tyson Forster knows what he's supposed to do. Put the puck in the net. That's just what he's supposed to do. Mitchkov, supposed to score. Tippett, supposed to score. You're in the top six, you're supposed to score. That's what. Mitchkov is not a third line checker. I'm happy that Tocchet has finally moved Zegras back to center. I think he's deserving of such. What I'm not happy is with Matvei Mitchkov playing on the third line in the checking role, because that's essentially what it is. He's not a checker. He's playing left wing. Grebekin's being benched. These are things that are not supposed to happen this year. Danny Briere and Keith Jones and all said, this is not the year to win. This was a year to try to make the playoffs. They did not guarantee playoffs. Cool. I'm fine with that. But don't make it about winning either, because that's what this has become. When you're benching Nikita Grebekin, who had a banging game the other night, who's one of a few Flyers, him and Denver Barkey, kicked butt in TK, obviously trying to put the team on his back. Do not sit the youth. Do not. This is supposed to be a season of practice. This is supposed to be a season with no pressure. Do not make it about winning. And that's what this season has become. And that's why the Flyers fan base is up in arms right now, the majority of them. The majority of the Flyers fan base is up in arms because now it's confusing. Is the rebuild over? Is it not over? Now it's about winning. It wasn't supposed to be about winning, but now all of a sudden it is. And that's why I wasn't happy with Rick Tocchet being hired as coach. I thought it was the wrong time for Rick Tocchet to be hired. Rick Tocchet came in here to do what? Win. There was no rebuild. The Flyers, the moment they hired Rick Tocchet, they were taking out of the rebuild. There is no longer a rebuild. He was not coming in here to rebuild his Flyers team. Whether they want to admit it or not, the front office, I will say that. When you hire a coach like Rick Tocchet, he has one thing on his mind to do: win. That's why this year and next year, for that matter, and if it went another third year for to still be in this rebuild, I would have hired Brad Shaw. And it's not because Rick Tocchet is sustaining success right now. It's because he is doing what? Supposed to win. So he's doing everything in his power to win. Whether that is benching Mitchkov and giving him less ice time, whether that's benching Nikita Grebekin, whether that's benching Emil Andre, whether that's benching another youth, whether it's benching Denver Barkey, he came in solely to win. That is what is transpiring now. And now they are not winning. So now you get this message from the Flyers, season ticket holders did, and said, yeah, they're ready to take the next step. So in my eyes, the rebuild is over. There is no more subtracting. It's only about addition, but yet let's sign Christian Dvorak, to a new 5-year deal. So the rebuild is clearly over. So don't let this, stuff say, oh, we're still in a rebuild. No, the rebuild is over. The rebuild is over. Has nothing to do with drafting, has nothing to do with obtaining. Now it's just about obtaining. Yes, they will have a boatload of cap to do such, but the rebuild is clearly over. The moment the Flyers hired Rick Tocchet, the rebuild was over. And that's why I didn't want Rick Tocchet hired as a coach in the first place, because I thought it was the wrong time. Not that I disliked him, and I still like him. I don't think he's a bad coach. I just think the Flyers aren't playing well. Doesn't mean it's coaching, but the way he fluctuates his lines get on my nerves. Stick to the lines. Put Zegras back to the middle. That's what I said. Have a line of Mitchkov, Zegras, and Barkey. Give something. Give the fan base something to enjoy. Because I'll tell you this, the Los Angeles Kings aren't no slouch either. Put Mitchkov, Zegras, and Barkey together. Mitchkov and Barkey need to be together. They had success, put them back. I don't care about that defense. That's why you have two defensemen. Team defense is important, sure. But put it together. Just let the Flyers fan base have their time. And that's my rant for the day. Flyers fans, we love you. Thank you. I appreciate you all.